but it's more than lucky. It's blessed to have another interview here with a great energy healer this week. Usually I just do one or two a month, and then this week I've had two, and so it's great. I just love doing that and connecting with people. So my guest today is Kendall Goddard, and her work is where talk therapy and energetic healing intersect. She has an innate ability to intuit the essential nature of her clients at both a human and a soul level and realign them with their magnificence, the infinite truth of who they really are. She uses her skills from this lifetime, plus taps into her parallel lifetimes of shaman, priest, medicine man, wise woman, and oracle. Kendall's skills include talk therapy, Reiki and energy healing, guided meditation and breathwork, chakra balancing, shamanic practices, past life exploration, mediumship, spiritual guidance, Akashic insights, angelic and spirit channeling, and sound, crystal, and nature based healing. So we could talk all day, I think, Kendall.
Sounds like there's a lot there.
There is. I love it. So, thank you for joining me. I'm so glad to have you here. And if you could, I love to hear people's stories. So, if you could tell us your story of how you got into the work you did, and start anywhere you'd like to.
Thank you, Carla. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me. We were just saying before we came on air how nourishing it is to have these soul connections, and to discuss the spiritual nature of our work is really deeply nourishing. So I'm very grateful to be here. And yeah, how I ended up, I mean, I had no idea that I'd end up doing this work. I spent a big portion of my adult life as a performer. I did a lot of acting as a kid, and was interested in the, lots of aspects of the arts. And I ended up performing as an actor, a singer, a dancer, a circus artist. I toured all over the world, which also means that I was a waitress and an admin assistant, all those other things that go along with being like a performer. But from a very young age, I grew up in Brisbane in Australia. And from a very young age, I was always interested in, deeper concepts, philosophy, spirituality. I was drawn to early on to kind of Vedic, yogic teachings, texts. I was always interested in singing, the hymnal processes in Christianity and churches and choirs. I was always drawn to kind of aspects of spirituality. I never really identified as one particular religion in my family, but I was always drawn to that. And I spent most of my life performing, and then throughout that time as well, I was also experiencing what in this dimension is kind of classified as mental health issues. I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of sensitivity, a lot of as I got a little older, I started to have big periods of depression. So for me, there was this exuberant self, and then this quieter self that was grappling with deeper things. Right. And I was really obsessed with healing modalities. I just became really obsessed with, and some of my modalities of choice in this lifetime have been 12-step, lots of different 12-step programs, lots of different therapies, yoga as a healing tool. I just got really, and I didn't really understand why everybody else wasn't so interested in this. Like, I was just like, why doesn't everybody want to heal themselves? And like, I was just so interested in, and meanwhile, I was, moving around the world with my work. And also personally, I moved to France when I was 19. I moved to Britain when I was 24. I moved to I met my now husband in Australia. I lived back in Australia for a while, moved to Canada with him, where he's from, had my son there. So I have a Canadian son. And at that point, I was deep into spiritual healing modalities. I was also studying to be a counselor, and I was experiencing really intense postpartum depression and anxiety. And when I look back now, what I realized was that I was really in a period of, like, in spiritual awakening terms, what you would term the dark night of the soul. And that was the early years of my son's life. And then we moved from Canada to the US, into Nashville, where I now am, where for my husband's work. And I had my second child and had less mental health issues the second time round, but I was still navigating, and I was completing my counseling studies, and I had this insane spiritual awakening, what is termed scientifically as a spontaneous spiritual awakening. But now I know, for me personally, I don't view it as spontaneous. It came after decades of deep work on myself and a very dark period. And I think it was just my soul. Everyone was like, okay, it's time. It's time to
Right.
wake up. It's bing, here we go. And at that point, and I talk about, I did have another spiritual awakening earlier in my life when I was in 2014. I was in Australia at that time, and I had decided to quit performing and focus on more healing modalities in terms of work. And so I was training to be a yoga teacher. And I had my first spiritual awakening then. And my clairsenses came online in terms of my clairsentience, my mediumship. I started to have experience with spirit visiting me. But to be honest, it scared the crap out of me, Carla. Excuse my language.
That's what happened to me too. It was like, it was scary.
It was so scary. And I realized I wasn't ready, right? I wasn't ready to hold that. I had a lot more work to do in my lower energy centers. My upper ones were very open, but my lower ones, I still had a lot of trauma to work through. Fast forward all those experiences I explained. And then in 2023, like 9 years later, I think I'd cleared the channel enough with the work I'd done. And when I say work, I mean, some of it was just falling apart. That's what the work was like real emotional periods of extraordinary emotional and mental challenge, and but doing it within the vehicles, these kind of healing vehicles or containers that could hold me and guide me in terms of processing the feelings. And then the channel was kind of cleared. And then that one was not so. That spiritual awakening was just like crazy. I mean, I had an almost 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. I was trying to finish my studies. My husband was traveling a little bit for work occasionally. And it was such a busy period. And I was all of a sudden seeing angels and, seeing past lives and sensing, I mean, any spiritual experience that you could possibly have was happening in that 9-month period. And
Wow.
it was like, it's time. It's time to wake up. And I was guided at that point. I got to meet my guides. I was guided to specific healers. They would give me names or pictures or place people I had to go and see, to who could again hold a loving container for me in terms of what I was going through, because you can't talk about that with everybody. And those healers were able to hold space for me, were able to explain, oh, this is normal. You're having a major spiritual awakening. You're coming online. Like, this happened to me too. And from there, they were basically, my guides were like, you becoming a counselor isn't quite your soul plan. We need to pivot a little bit. So we want you to go and do some energy work training, some Reiki training, and you're going to start doing a kind of combination of the two. And then when I started doing that work, that's when I realized I was reading people's Akashic records. I was seeing a whole load of stuff, and I was channeling spirit to come in and do healing ceremony on people. So that kind of explains where I am. And I just adore my work color. And I had no idea, that I would. I mean, I was a performer for so many years, and people think it's so glamorous and creative, and of course it is. But for me, for my soul, this is the most creative work I could. I mean, it is like
Mhm.
there is nothing like getting a little tiny window into the magnificence of a client's soul, and these energies coming in, and angels to work on them, and I mean, it's like who
Yeah,
needs drugs,
and a blessing, right? That you get to be part of that. Yeah,
It's a deep gift. I mean, it
yeah,
is. It's a deep gift and honor, and it lights me up in ways that, I mean, it's soul work, right? So yeah.
yes, yeah. Well, awesome. Well, before we go into other things, deeper things, or whatever, I just can't resist. What did you do in the circus?
I was an aerial artist, so I did the Spanish web, which is I did trapeze, the
Hmm.
static trapeze, not the flying one, and I did um, Spanish web. So that's the big rope that you climb and you hook
Okay.
in at the top, either your
Mhm.
wrist or your ankle, and you get spun. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
It's
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
I actually had a fall from the trapeze during a show, an arena show, and it was a a routine, a doubles routine I'd done hundreds of times. Like there was no reason why I should fall that day, except there really was, because I wasn't listening to the internal nudges around wanting to end that work and
Hmm.
become still and evolve. Obviously, it was my personal evolution, so it was like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna knock her off. She's not listening.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. I think our souls or our spirits do that to us when we get to a point where the mind just isn't listening, but
That's
the spirit can't take it anymore in or knows that there's so much more, or it's time for us to start there where we can get here, right? And the spirit does that. It just says, okay, it's time. Bye.
Here we go. Well,
Yeah, that
that's it.
happened to
Buckle you
me.
off. It did.
um Not in a circus. I was just working a terribly stressful job,
Yeah.
and yeah, my went into I guess you could call it oh, where is it, where I couldn't handle it anymore. My mind started
Yeah.
doing things. I was watching myself. There's a period of a day or two I was watching myself, and I couldn't stop, and I knew it wasn't right. It wasn't good decisions,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I
and it
mean,
was
this
time to go.
it's the darkness, right, before the dawn, like, I think, and all of those, I really embrace the kind of like, and almost try to kind of look lovingly at this with a lot of people, is like that, those experiences that can seem like failures or painful, like letting go or grieving. It's like they're like the doorway in, to
Yes,
possibility. They're the markers that kind of, they're milestones for kind of soul evolution. They're so good,
yes.
really.
It's painful as heck, right? And
Oh, it's so painful.
such a dark night, like you said, or like what I did. I had it, and it was that experience, and it was, but I kept pushing through it.
Oh,
And
always.
then there was another period of 3 or 4 years where I started I did different things, a different, I wouldn't call it a career necessarily, but work that I was doing. I went into house cleaning and gardening,
Yeah, yeah,
because it wasn't the stressful desk
yeah,
work,
it's
right?
just,
It
and
wasn't the
also
people work, the
be
hard people work.
by yourself. Yeah,
Yes,
kind of,
or with elderly people, and I could learn so much from them, and they taught me wonderful things. And then came the time where experiences lined up that I could not stop. I mean, I
yeah,
had to stop and say, okay, I have to find me. I have to heal. I have to find out what all this is about that I felt all my life, all that sadness and fear that I had
yeah.
never known how to deal with. Right.
Yes, and it's the I mean, the pain, I always say this, the pain is like the portal to your own power, really,
Yes.
ultimately, but it's so painful. But stopping to look, I mean, the ego will do anything to just not stop, to not stop and be with the shadow, like be with that painful, vulnerable part of ourselves. And
Yeah.
many of us, mystics, messengers, whatever you want to call us, like spiritual workers, like healers. It's always heal the healer first. I mean,
Yes.
and continuously, like I'm not enlightened. So it's like I'm still in this, you just always having that internal view, like, and being able to acknowledge the nudges. Some of them are being pushed off the trapeze and some of them are not quite so intense, like
Right. Right.
these days.
Thankfully.
Yeah,
Right.
but my
Yeah,
ego
you
can get
can
a
get to
hold
the
on.
point where you feel it ahead of time, or
That's
you
right.
know you gotta do it,
Yeah,
or whatever that nudge is, and we're listening now,
that's it.
and or most of the time, and we can catch it sooner, and it's not as painful.
That's right. Because we really do live in a density, in an environment that doesn't really encourage that so much. It encourages to keep going at all costs, to ignore, it encourages focus on conscious self,
Mhm.
usually. But that, I mean, that's shifting. It's shifting.
It is, but there's also I don't know if you experienced it, um, but it's like so many of the shifts that I've made in my life have been big splits with my family, right?
Absolutely.
And it's like,
Absolutely.
they don't understand why I'm doing what I'm doing or my new perspective on things. And yeah, I've had like three of those splits, and it's like each time,
Mhm.
it mends after a few years, and time
Yeah.
gets better, and we have a relationship again, and it's good, but it's not that closeness of
Don't-
before we started.
No. And
Before I started doing those splits, right?
yeah, the split, it's a really interesting word. Thank you for using that because it is, I mean, this is the role of the healer, right? Is that we are the outsider, and it's part of what we're healing in this lifetime is we are really healing the pain, that whatever you want to call it, I call it the healer hangover, the witch wound, the light worker persecution complex,
Yeah.
is we've had many, many lifetimes where we were literally excised from communities, ostracized, sent out into the woods,
Killed.
down in the woods, hung in the
Yes.
woods, like,
Yeah.
taken from our homes in the middle of the night and locked in jail cells underneath castles and then persecuted in the ugliest of ways, like the next day. So we have that blueprint
That we
of
carry.
being the outsider, of being ostracized, of being criticized. And it is part of what we are here to heal
Yeah.
so that we can also heal this wounded aspect of the planet. The wounded healer, the wounded planet, these denser dimensional aspects of who we are and what the planet is are all coming up to the surface. And they come up through splits, like splits between family systems, splits in communities. All of a sudden you've got friends that you don't feel like you belong anymore in the circle. You're in workplaces that you don't identify with anymore. Countries are splitting. Like all these kind of deep seated wounds are coming up
Yeah.
for the feelings of separation, of separateness to be explored. I mean, that's all it is, right? It's just feel the feelings.
Mhm.
That's how we heal it. That's it.
It is. It is. Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah.
easier said than done though, because some of them are very ancient and the pain, the pain of that exclusion, that separateness. I do relate. I do relate. I think a lot of my family think I'm completely nuts in terms of what
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Exactly. Yeah.
totally crazy. They think it's all make believe. I'm like, I just say, well, maybe it is. you,
Yeah.
you might be right.
Yeah, I feel blessed. I have two children, two growing boys, sons,
Yes.
and one of them is like, well, I have to have the physical to actually know it, to
Yeah.
actually believe it. He
Yeah.
said, but he listens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he knows there's something there, and he
Yeah.
knows it's probably real, but it's not yet for him because it's not physical enough, or he hasn't got to the place where he'll receive that it's what's not physical.
Absolutely. And it's difficult, right? Because I feel like we're also just human beings, and my only way of understanding the world is through my own mind and my own experience of it. So I kind
Yes,
of have
yes.
this expectation that others would experience it the same way, but at a soul level, like we know, right, that not it's like we all have a different role and a different propensity and a penchant for different things, and as some souls are just they're not meant to be interested in spiritual things. They're not meant to be. It's not part of their mission.
Well, I have a mm, I guess a struggle or a conflict with that, because I think our spirits all want that. And
Yeah.
and so
It's
it's our
very
mind that we get into, and yes, we agreed,
mhm.
to be in that part in that lifetime of, but at some point, maybe it's not during this life
Yeah.
that we're meant, those people that, aren't dealing with it now, or don't think they're not meant to deal it with this life, but they're meant to heal it in the afterlife before they go to the oneness. I mean, I see that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it just continues, right? The life just continues, and it's definitely, they have to heal it in the afterlife then.
Yeah,
And
and I agree too. And I think, well, I also think that it's like we're in the Earth School here, the curriculum, and the whole point of this curriculum and all of the lifetimes, however many each of us has,
mhm,
is to realize spirit in the material form, is to fully
yes,
realize, is to be enlightened, to be filled with the light, right, of source. And so we're all really doing that. I mean, that's really what we're doing. And
right,
and
right.
however many lifetimes it takes for that to happen.
Yes, yes, uh-huh.
And I
Def-
think some of us might just be a little further, deeper into the curriculum on that
yeah,
than
yeah, there you
others.
go. Uh-huh.
You know?
Yeah. So, talking about past lives, then how did you become aware of your past lives, or some of them? I mean, you probably don't have details of all of them, or
No, no, I don't know if that would be possible. But actually, that's a good question. Some of the first things that happened to me when that big spiritual awakening was when I was lying in bed at night, and all of a sudden I was seeing all these energies coming in, and I was seeing things flash coming through my mind's eye, like very visceral um, experiences. And what I'm realizing were they were memories, past life memories or parallel
mm,
life memories.
mm,
Um, and I started seeing, and I just had my it was so clear. I had clear cognizance, and then also some of my guides, divine guides, were telling me about them. So I started to see, the first image I saw was me working with crystals on somebody in a tomb. I just knew that it was ancient Egypt or Atlantis, something like that. I was underground and I was healing. And then I saw myself as and I mean, this didn't just happen like this, like a movie. It
mhm,
was like over
mhm,
a period of multiple nights and
mhm,
daytimes. I would get the images. I wasn't asleep. Um, I was conscious when I got the images, but it was so visceral. I could see myself looking out, but I was in a different body. So apparently, I love being a French Catholic priest. So I have one where I'm like a really tall man with very kind of slim, muscular body, and I was swinging this big wooden cross, walking down a cobblestone street with a in a
mhm.
big red hood, velvet hood, with a whole brethren of monks. Like I was in the center of them, and we were walking down this. So I just started seeing, and then throughout the last couple of years, I just have kind of little ones coming in. They just come in, and my team explained to me, I've seen lives off planet. I've seen started to see lives. It's just very quantum. They just start to kind of It's like a kind of sheet, a heavy sheet, and the sheet starts to kind of disintegrate a little bit, and you start to see bits of it form. That kind of, I've seen Celtic shamanic lives a lot in old world Europe, and recently I did have a trip to Egypt in November last year, which ended up, I had a challenge getting back in the US afterwards, and
Oh.
it was not for an intuitive. It was very humbling to have no idea about that until it started happening. And my guides, I ended up being sent to England, and then I was sent to Canada, and I ended up having to go to a part of Canada I hadn't been to before, very, very cold. I'd packed for the desert. Anyway, I realized that part of that trip was a bit of soul retrieval because I saw some new lives that I'd never seen
Hmm.
before in
Okay.
Canada, in
Hmm.
an Inuit lifetime right up north, as a man, a shaman. I was quite good looking in that life, actually. This long hair and this big animal skins on in the ice. It was an ice like lifetime living in, a very cold area. But so I've seen, and I also seen lots of Native American lifetimes too. And I think it's by no accident that I had this second most powerful spiritual awakening here in Nashville. And leading up to it, I had a lot of visitation from um, animals. I had like little baby bald eagles and things would just come and land right on my step and look in the window at me. And a deer, who I now know is my spirit totem, would like show up outside the window. And I was like, what's going on? This is really strange. These owl would fly over my head. I mean, I'd never even seen an owl before. And there was a lot going on leading up to it. I see that was all kind of an orchestration of spirit, and um, it was such a powerful experience. It almost feels like make believe, really. But I feel like some of my work is to really let people know, because for many, many years I was like, is this it? Is this as good as it gets? Like, this is hard. This
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
hard. Life is hard. Like,
Life is hard. And then you die.
I was like doing all the work. I was trying so hard to like heal myself and do everything I needed to do and heal it all. And it's not all there is. I mean, literally, I was completely transformed
Hmm.
by that experience. I mean, absolutely. So I feel like some of my work is often to be a custodian for those who are going through very dark times, are literally going through spiritual awakenings, and to walk with them through that process lovingly, and to give them hope that there's light on the other side. Like, keep going, because
Right.
so
Right. Yeah.
sacred alchemy is happening right now. It might feel like you are broken and that there is no hope, but this is a sacred alchemy of your soul that's coming online, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what about you talked about soul retrieval. So um and you're speaking about soul retrieval from parallel lives or from past lives, right?
Mhm,
And your current life too, right?
mhm. Absolutely.
Constantly. I mean, I find it's been, oh gosh, the last year has been an incredible amount for me. Um, um, Becoming one, melding again with the separated conscious parts of myself that from different traumas, and it's like boom. Sometimes it's lots of them all at once, and sometimes it's one, and it's did you have that this last year too?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like when I look back now and I see all these I just have traveled so many places and been to so many places, and the experience, the emotional or relational experiences I had in those places or afterwards, even a trip back home to my home country of Australia, which, because of my own healing trajectory, has not always been the most exciting thing for me to go back there, right? But
Hmm.
this was the first trip back since I'd had this huge awakening. And so experiencing the land, the energies of Australia, the energies, the consciousnesses that came in, and so experiencing all of that and soul retrieval in another layer. It's
Yes.
like a layer that you think you've done that work here in this context with this family member, and it's like, oh no, we're going
Nope.
deeper. We're
Yeah.
circling back around. It's like this orbit that is you're never revisiting the exact same space. You're kind of going
Hmm.
deeper and
Right.
you're ascending at the same time. It's like the two happening at once,
Yeah, it's something we can't really, nothing in the physical life really mm, explains or is a easy example
And
of
and
both.
personally, I don't fully understand it either, Carla. Like, I don't have a full intellectual understanding of it, and I don't think I'm probably meant to. I feel like sometimes that gets in the way for me, like
Mhm.
because I was guided as well when I was in Egypt. I mean, it was visceral. Like I was in floods of tears in one temple particularly, and then another one, and it was like the soul memories that came up there. But I was also shown in session with people through guided guides, higher ones, that I was doing soul retrieval for some of my clients. Like
Mm,
that I
mhm,
was I
mhm,
was accessing coding for them to come back and to work with them, and it's going to be integrated back into their system. And in a strange quantum way, I was advised that I was even doing that before I'd even gone. That they
mhm.
were sending in this coding from ancient Egypt, and it was, so it doesn't always make sense to the intellect, to the physical, and I'm okay with that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. It makes it more, curious, right? More,
It's fun.
interesting. It's fun,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's like, I think oh, I lost my train of thought. The, you were talking about, doing that for your clients or you
Yeah.
know, and I mean, I find myself a lot in getting downloads or whatever from spirit. It's like I don't I'm agreeing and I'm saying, "Really? Yes, please," or "Show me," or "Yes, I will." Just in total agreement, passionate about it, and I have no clue what it's talking about.
I
And
mean,
but I know my spirit knows what it's saying, and it's like, "Yes, I have to. Yes."
I totally relate to that. I mean, it's so funny how people see mystics and like that you have this like it's like there's an angel next to you and you're having a conversation with them. Like, no, that's not how it works. It's this weird kind of channeling, like downloading of things that don't always make sense, and but it's beautiful and it's so interesting in the imagery or the smells or the tastes or the sound and the knowing. It's just this beautiful experience that is it's layered into everything here. It's layered
Yes.
into our whole experience as humans.
Yeah, I walk the dogs and it's layered in,
It
right?
is, and it's like this is who we are, and I think this is the biggest awareness when we do awaken, when our vibration just lifts a little, and it's like we're aware of more subtle frequencies than we were previously. It's like, oh, this has always been here. I just and it's I just wasn't aware before, and it's
Yes,
everywhere, and everyone can do this. We are innately created for this. This is
we
who we are.
are.
We are
Yes.
spirits. This is who we are. We are a channel for spirit here into the physical. I mean, it is delicious. It's delicious.
It is, yeah. I remember, when I was little, we had big, huge trees. I grew up on a farm, and it was, I would talk to them, and I'd put my hands on them, and sometimes it'd be crying, sometimes just telling whatever my little self had secrets of or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful. And then we lose all that as we grow up, and it's not encouraged, and everything you get involved with, this physical life. And then it's like the after my spiritual awakening, after I've started this again, it's like I have that again, and it's so So beautiful, so wonderful. So, you talked about nature-based healing. Do you have any stories about that connection with nature or the trees, or how do you see that? The rain?
Oh,
That
the
just came to
rain.
me, the rain. You need to talk about the rain.
Oh, really? Okay, the rain. Very cleansing, very cleansing. Um, what comes to me is, yeah, the reset, the psychological and psychic and full energetic reset of nature, of just being in nature, and how it returns me to a space where the monkey mind just quietens down, right? And it restores that channel, that pristine channel, to kind of to hear, to really hear, to listen to my inner self, to and I mean, oh, I've had so much. It's interesting going back to Australia because I grew up in Brisbane, in the state of Queensland, and my parents, were like middle class, didn't have a huge amount of money, but we
Mhm.
used to go, all of our holidays would be camping on the sand islands. So I had this very early experience with the these kind of pristine energies, and I realized how pristine those energies are when I went back this Christmas. I was like, oh, these are like, and what's been coming in a lot lately for me is this, in this eclipse portal, is really, and for a lot of people that I work with, is this coming online of these paradisiacal lifetimes, paradisiacal civilizations on Earth, our lifetimes in Lemuria, in
Mhm.
Atlantis, in
Mhm.
before the fall, where all of our psychic senses were online, where we were awakened, where that was
Mhm.
normal. And places like that plug me in. Like when I am in
Right.
saltwater environments, like beach, it feels like soul home. The rain, rain connects me more to old world Europe, like
Mm.
Celtic lifetimes. It
Mhm.
connects me into my Celtic shamanism, to, that smell of rain and the earth. It's like, oh, it's so sweet for my soul. It takes me, it's like I see myself out picking plants and flowers to mix tinctures, and in these little communities, in medieval Europe, and it's these sorts of things in nature. And also, since my awakening, like really seeing consciousnesses come out of nature. I mean, I taught a retreat in Sedona. I'd taught yoga retreats before, but this was my first retreat as an intuitive. And I taught one there in September, and my guides had said, "That's it. We threw it together in like 3 months, and it sold out." It was so crazy. I would never do that usually. But they were like, "You've got to go." And I was like, "I'm teaching a retreat somewhere I've never been. I don't know if that's a good idea." They were like, "Just do it." And the elemental energies that came out of that experience for me, and then started working in session with clients, these kind of rock mountainous energies that were
Mm.
like deeply anchoring and supportive with people, like all people's dragon guides, and like all this stuff was like coming online, a lot of fairies, a lot of elementals, sprites, like these kind of earth elementals that I had worked with a little bit, but they were new ones, and I was like,
Mhm.
whoa, like, and they come in because that soul has some kind of relationship with them, and
Mhm.
so I don't know if any of that makes sense, but even being in Canada recently when I had that immigration issue, I mean, we visited some these kind of pristine, like even snow, and I had never really these icy, snowy environments, and there was like a peace in it for me. And then all of these kind of new Inuit deities came in that I'd never met before, and then I started seeing that lifetime right up in the north,
Mhm.
of that continent. And yeah, nature is a portal. It's a
Definitely.
portal to who we are as a soul, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I guess when I think of rain in the trees, it's more like, I can feel their joy where the trees are just so full of joy with the rain. And I wasn't surprised to feel that. But
Mhm.
what surprised me was they feel that same joy with snow when it's so cold outside and it's like 0 degrees here and it's snowing and they love it. The
I love it.
trees love it.
That is, they're pristine, they're fresh, like, they're online, and, like, I always think of, like, water. Water is so soothing, you know, and, like, a lot of baptismal stuff in some of my lives, like, as a priest, like, a lot of baptizing people in water,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
so the water, the cleansing, purifying effects of, I don't mean of, like, sin, I mean of just energetic scarring or energies that are dense, a little dense or low vibration.
Anxieties or
Yeah, like
yes.
sensitivities, like fear, and just the cleansing effect of water, like in rain and snow. I mean, salt water. Like it's just, yeah, I love water. I love water.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
So if you could go um, anywhere in the world, whether you've been there before or not, what would be your favorite water place?
Oh, that's really hard. I think like those tropical beaches, you know, like Vietnamese, like those kind of like Caribbean tropical kind of, that's really what's on my mind and heart right now. It's like get in the sun, the full grand central sun, get the salt water, the pure white sand, turquoise, that very healing turquoise color, you
Hmm.
know, of the divine feminine. That's kind of, take me there.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Ah, so interesting. So would you want to talk more? Oh, I know what. Um, on your website, you mentioned you have full moon and new moon activations. What's your relationship to the moon, or what types of things do you do, or what do the activations bring to your clients there?
That's a good question. Well, one of my the spiritual vehicle of choice for me in this lifetime, I think I haven't done it before, so I was like, I'm into that one. Was yoga and the Vedic literature, you know, the yogic teaching. So, as a yogi, my practice earlier in my life was geared around the moon, you know, the full moon
Hmm.
and the new moon, and to honor those days as rest days, which is a practice that isn't just unique to that, you know, that spiritual vehicle. There's
Hmm. Right.
loads of ancient spiritual vehicles that honor the moon and the moon's movements. Since awakening, I've had a some guidance around some kind of denser aspects of the moon. And I know this sounds a little weird, but some corruptions, some kind of denser, lower frequency aspects of
Hmm.
the moon.
I think something broke in it in the cycle.
Yeah. And so part of what I do with the moon is like it's a and why I gear my calls in my membership around that, where we do ceremony, is to tend to this ancient divine feminine practice of rest, of ritual, of going
Hmm.
inwards, which I think, you know, our society, the world really is, you know, thirsty like those trees for the gentle rains of the divine feminine
Hmm.
practices, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I also have been instructed to do activations around that time to work on healing those corrupted frequencies of the moon.
Good, good.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. Um, I work on tuning. I call it tuning. I use it tuning forks, and
Beautiful.
and I don't always work in people's biofields or whatever, but I tune and I have some friends holding the intention with me, so it's more powerful. It's more than just me, and
Yeah.
we're tuning the energy grid that the
Mhm.
world used to run on,
Yeah.
um, that has been mainly offline or disconnected in pieces. It doesn't work the way it's supposed to anymore. And
Absolutely.
we've been working on bringing, activating and amplifying that.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. And this is, I think, uh, we're here to heal, and we're here to heal everything.
Yes,
Heal
yeah,
everything. I mean, our own self is like this microcosm for the macro, right? It's like a
yeah.
micro view of what we're doing at a macro level, and it's so beautiful, the reciprocity between those two things. That all these, the sphere of the earth has her own energy grid, the sphere of the moon has its own energy grid,
Yes,
and
yeah.
all the cosmos, there's all these kind of beautiful, like, amazing interactions between all these energy spheres. Nothing exists in isolation. So
Mhm.
we're we're healing self, the planet, human consciousness, the moon, the whole shebang. That's what we're
Yeah.
doing here.
It is, it is. So where do you see that going?
The work
What
that I
Uh, y um, no, like the healing that we're all doing. What do you think will be the result, or how much will we see in our lifetime? Or, um,
I
along those lines.
I think, I mean, the speed at which this is happening, the speed at which people like me, you, all over the planet, it's like boop, 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 boop. They're all being awakened. It's all
Mhm,
like online, online. People are remembering who they are. They're remembering that they're a fractal of source. To me, it's happening at such a rate that is you know quicker than it ever has.
mhm,
And we can heal in 6 months what would have taken 100 years before, like 2 lifetimes, right? So we are healing at a rate, and that means the planet is too, even though it might not be that obvious, because we look at her through these egoic eyes. We look at her through the eyes that were conditioned in that system, in a grid that you were just explaining about that was broken,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
So, and we're seeing so much pain come up to the surface. But I really do think that within our lifetime, I mean, I never knew this would happen to me in this lifetime.
Oh, yeah, I didn't I had no clue. It just happened.
So, so hey, I'm here for the ride. I think we all are here for the ride, and I think there's a lot more in the pipeline. I mean, I think it's not just 5D we're going to. I mean, many of us have already moved beyond that, to 7D, and this split, that is happening with the 3D and the 5D.
Mhm,
And many of us are anchoring in. There's those that are down in the 1D that are really drawing 3D down for that split to happen. And there's
mhm,
those of us that are kind of up above the 5D that are, so there's this splitting that is very obvious. I think much of it has already happened. And I think that there is way more in the pipeline. Like, watch this space. I feel just an exuberance at the beings that come in. Some of this information around, like, original clans and tribes on Earth, the
mhm,
12 original clans,
mhm,
just prior to Lemuria and Atlantis, right? Like the first advanced civilizations. And it's like you get these, I just get so much joy. It's like, oh, all we need to be is a group of 12. All we need to be is this energy of 12, like, coming together, and this energy of the power of you and your friends with your tuning
mhm,
fork. Like,
mhm. Right.
this is incredibly powerful. And that healing that happens in the circle in my membership, where I do angelic activations. The angels step in, and they're usually in the archaea form. They step in, they guide an activation. We'll work on some mindful movement. All of a sudden, last time we were chanting, I didn't even know we'd be doing that. They were telling me to shake instruments and stuff. It's like,
Mhm. Right?
it's very kind of flow and really beautiful. And it's almost indescribable what happens there. It's a So I'm filled with excitement about what's to
Mm,
come. I suppose that would be my
mhm.
response. I'm filled
Yeah.
with curiosity and excitement, and I
Mhm.
don't think I know what is coming, actually, which I
Yeah, yeah.
feel
Mhm.
like is a
Which
good place to be. you know?
Maybe it's good, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
certainly is exciting that way, and it will be good, whatever
Yeah.
is coming. Yeah. Yeah, interesting and really, really cool. Um, uh, what about like star seeds and stuff? Have you what you've described so far as mainly pertain to this realm or the earth realm, but I know and mine does too.
Yeah.
um, but I know a lot of people see things from the star seed perspective or from interplanetary
Yeah.
things, and I don't can't say those aren't real. It's all in how we see things, and we might be talking exactly about the same things, but we
Yeah.
see it different because of we're different people, right? So have you had experiences with interplanetary or star seed things?
Yeah, I definitely have, and the direct experience for me was that during that period in 2023 where I first kind of I had direct experiences with what I would describe as star beings now, or
Hmm.
lesser known as the ETs, but and coming in and working on my energy centers, and also receiving information from my guides about my own star origins, um and about, when I see the akasha of people I see. It's really interesting because even the client I had just before I came on here, most of the lives I saw for him were all off planet. So I'm starting to see a lot more around. Um, but I also hold that really lightly too, because I mean, my starseed type is a type that is a blueprinter, blueprint translator. So really, blueprinters for planet Earth are those who were apparently given the blueprint. I mean, I don't know, but we're given the blueprint for Earth to help source create Earth, maintain it, translate to others.
Hmm.
My role is as a translator to translate concept, complex spiritual ideas into the tangible, and
Hmm.
to maintain what the point of Earth was, which was never to be down in the density that it was, but
Right.
that we're in.
Right.
But actually, it is, because it happened. So it's for a reason. It's this dissonance between dark
Yeah.
and light.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's a dissonance. It's meant to be. We're meant to be where we are. But that my as blueprinters, all blueprinters, it's really interesting because in the Akasha, it's not written anywhere where our star place of origin was,
Mhm.
because we identify more with our role rather than our
Hmm.
origin. We identify
Okay.
more with
Mhm.
our mission of what we're doing, our what we're most interested in, souls. And so it's never revealed when you're
Mhm.
incarnated to anyone, because it's quite ancient and no one really cares. Like, it's really
Well, and
about,
we wouldn't know the words, right? Or
yeah. And
I know one of my ancestors, y my grandma's name was Luella, and this is a ancestor of hers on her side of the family, her mother's side, and her name starts with LU, but it's like it's I mean, it's like
like
50
Welsh or
syllables long.
something.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. Yes,
Is
uh-huh.
it Welsh?
And
Yeah.
I have other
Hmm. I can
Welsh
see that with you. Yeah.
ancestors, and so I think this was too. But
Mm.
it just feels like it. But I mean, it's a language we don't know, and so even if you heard the word, you wouldn't really know what it was, what you were
That's
saying.
it. And
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, I also say to hold it lightly. Like, when I'm doing a work on someone, I'll receive, oh, this is a Pegasian star seed, or I'll see
Mm,
Pegasian star beings around the person. They come in to help, with the healing, or, Lyran or whatever. But I'm
mhm,
also told by my guides to hold that pretty lightly, because it's really just to do with the first place you incarnated as a soul
mm,
after Source
mhm,
created you. So it's not who you are. That's not all of
mm.
who you are. It's like saying you, Carla, are just Carla. No, you are Carla and all of your other
Yeah,
experiences. Like,
yeah,
so
and the ancestors too. Yeah.
yeah. And so, even though I'm like a blueprinter, I've incarnated in the Pleiades and the Lyran stars and in Tarkin. Like, it's so people say, "Oh, I'm a Pleiadian," but it's like, no, you're not just that. Like, that's
Right.
maybe your
Right.
soul carries those frequencies because you had some very important incarnations there, or it was your first place of incarnating. Souls, we love incarnating, but the truth of who you are actually exists between lives, like between those incarnations. That's an
Yeah.
incarnation too. So people talk about their star family, and it's like, well, that's still just an incarnation. Like your soul family, like your monad, your soul, like what are the angels you work with in between lives? Like this is your family. Like this is your,
Yes. Yeah.
the truth of who you are. So I mean, I love all of that. It's like it's all the color of who we are. It's all
Yeah.
these different
Yeah.
aspects. But um, as you say, it's a point of view. It's a point of reference. And as human beings, we love points of reference, but it's not really the point.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So we're getting closer to, I usually keep it around an hour. We can go longer. That's fine too. But was there anything about your offerings or things that you wanted to share, just to be sure we allow plenty of time for that?
Oh, thank you. A little plug. We love a plug.
Sure, sure,
Um,
absolutely.
appreciate that color. Well, my intake session with clients is 199 and it's 90 minutes and they receive it can be in person or remote, and so that's the first way to get in to see me as a client. But I also offer this membership, the hotspot, which is only $11 a month, and it gives people access because I think spiritual community is very important, just regardless of your financial status. So that is a really beautiful space to experience some of my work in a much cheaper way, and to be part of a community of souls, like-minded souls who are into all this stuff, who are healing, actively healing. They're all in their own right sovereign souls. So that's a really fun, lovely thing that I really enjoy. I really enjoy my membership. And coming up, I have a retreat booked in March 29th. It's called Align and Alight, and it's in those paradisiacal waters we were talking about, and it's a week-long retreat. So
Wow. Hmm.
that's going to be really beautiful. That's all inspired by the archaea, and a lot of the divine feminine ascended masters with divine feminine energy were very like Yeshua for me is divine feminine, and a lot of these energies that were very kind of gentle and loving, goddess energies from a lot of traditions are all involved in creating that retreat, directing me on how to do it. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a return to being, rest, ritual, being, nervous system regulation, just real embodiment of divine self. Yeah.
Mm,
So
beautiful.
that's it.
Right. Lovely. Um, I guess there was one other thing. We've talked about past lives and, or parallel lives and things. What about ancestors? What involves your work with ancestors, or
For me personally or for my clients?
however?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Oh, I love your questions, Carla.
Oh,
They're beautiful.
I'm
They're
just
very
asking what I want to hear.
I know, they're very thoughtful. I'm like, "Oh, this is so reflective and lovely." Um, well, it's really interesting because the first energy that came in when I had that big awakening was my grandmother. And I realized she came in to, well, there was a spirit in my son's room who was 4 at the time, and I chatted with a couple of friends of mine. I mean, I didn't even realize I was a medium too. The fact that I could actually sense that it was there.
Hmm. Right.
I chatted to a couple of my medium friends, and they were like, "You need to, like, address it and say, blah, blah, blah." So
Hmm.
I did that, and that kinda kicked off that whole 9 months. And that evening, my grandmother came in to see me, who's passed, and who I had a very close relationship with, my maternal grandmother. And she was a seer too, I realize now, but it was such a visceral experience, visitation from her. Like, she hugged me in the bed. I could smell her. I mean, she had her arms around me, and it was just so I wasn't asleep. I mean, it was so profound, the love I felt from her. And I didn't know why she was coming in. And then it all started happening. And I realize now, my guides told me that she was there to try and calm me for what was to come, because it was really a lot came in very quickly. I mean, I was schooled in spirit in the space of like, even in that first month, I had
Mm-hmm.
I was taught how to remove dark entities by having dark entities come into my energy field, and like, so it was really like a very intense period. And I realized, so my grandmother and my grandfather, I'm very close with them. They've come in. It's also been very special to give. I gave my parents a Christmas gift, to give them a session when they were over here one year. And
Okay.
that I didn't think they'd really be into it, but they were so into it. And it was so moving to
Oh,
have
wow, that's cool.
their parents come in with messages
Mhm.
for them. And they're my grandparents, and it was very moving. And to see my relationship with them as a soul in other lifetimes. I gave a session to my husband once and just bawling my eyes out because it was like
Oh.
seeing other lives we've had together, but from his perspective. And it was really like, and he's like, oh, that feels nice on my shoulder. Like he's not into any of it. But
Mhm.
it was really beautiful. For clients, I see often I'll have ancestors come in um, with messages for the client. They often come in with always in loving support.
Mhm. That's what I find too. Mhm.
Always, regardless of the relationship they had in human
Mhm.
form, it's always in a
Right.
loving, supportive space. I think
Mhm.
some of them come in for a bit of a package deal sometimes, like because they come in to support the healing
Mhm.
of, of their ancestor, but also to receive a little bit
Sure.
too.
Sure. And but that's how spirit works, right? Nothing is just for one person. If there's two people involved, it's a win-win situation.
That's it. And the generational lines. I mean, I've had mobs come in, for beings where it's like thousands of
Yes.
ancestors come in.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's like, and the message, for that client is that you are doing incredible work for all of us. Like you are
Yes.
carrying, and this client might feel completely broken or really in a lot of pain in terms of what they're healing. But it's because as a soul, they are the chosen one. They have agreed to carry so much of that ancestral line, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
to heal it. And we're talking 12 generations back, 12 forward. It's a lot, on the quantum
What?
level in terms of
Mhm.
healing. So the ancestral piece is so beautiful, and you think about, I mean, we all talk in therapy about like a family of origin trauma and it's all passed down the line. But that has also created it's like a cauldron, with the perfect recipe of spices added to create you.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
all of that,
absolutely.
this is the magic of where you've come from.
Yes.
We are this magic alchemy in form, like we have come as a gift from, and all the trauma is a gift, and then all the gifts are a gift. It's like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really beautiful. It's absolutely
Yes.
beautiful,
It is. It is. And what a blessing to be a part of it, right?
It is. And also, when you see all these lives for people too, it's like, oh, well, this soul has incarnated into how many ancestral lines on the planet? Like, I mean, you
Mhm.
can't you can't think we're not all one when
Yeah.
you realize
Yeah.
how many ancestral lines we've actually incarnated into. I mean, it's like
Right.
this
Right.
is
Yeah.
all
There's
of us.
connections all over. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You bet.
so this kind of hive mind of source of soul, it's like we're all connected. It's beautiful, really.
Yeah. It is. It is. All right. Is there any last thing you'd like to comment or advice for people or encouragement?
No, just love. I'm feeling a lot of love right now, Carla. I'm just very grateful for this experience, and yeah, I just feel a lot of love right now. So I'm
Awesome.
extend that out to anyone who watches.
Awesome, awesome. And could you tell people your website so they can get hold of you?
It's kendallgoddard.com. It's got
Okay.
everything on there. You can book whatever you like and reach out to me. You can subscribe to my newsletter. I do a monthly newsletter, which is pretty, I love writing that. Um, so that's something I love, the creative work I love doing. And you can subscribe to that or you can reach out to me if you've got a question.
All right, very good. So we'll hang on, Kendall, and we'll say goodbye now to all the watchers. I'm glad you were here. Thank you for being part of it. And we'll catch you next time, next week. Bye bye.